Hello and welcome. Welcome if this is your first time with us, and welcome if you're here every week. It's good to be with you again. Now this week, for most of you, will be the end of term, the end of the summer term, and over the next day or so you'll be packing all your books away from the kitchen table, and the home school classroom will close down for a couple of weeks. Of course, you'll all be looking forward to getting back to school in August. Perhaps you're moving up through the school, perhaps you're going to be a primary 7, or maybe you're off to high school, or maybe you're starting school in primary 1 for the very first time, and it's a very exciting time, and I am sure that you'll be glad to get back to school in August to meet your new teachers. Of course, normally at the end of the summer term, we have a holiday. We go on holiday, a summer holiday, and I know people were planning really special summer holidays, going all the way to Florida to Disneyland. And of course that can't happen this year, unfortunately, so it's disappointing, but it's being rearranged for next year. So that's something to look forward to, and it's always good to have something to look forward to. When we go on holiday, of course, there's lots of planning. We have to pack our suitcase and make sure that we've got our boarding pass, our boarding ticket to get on the plane, and also make sure that we don't leave anybody behind in the airport. And that reminds me of my favourite film, Home Alone. Now, of course, it's maybe you think it's a Christmas film, but I think it's a film that you can watch any time at all. It's so good, it's such a good film, and I think Home Alone 1 is the best. Remember, Kevin gets left at home alone and he has all these exciting adventures, but at the end of the day, he manages to keep himself safe. Home Alone 2 is called Lost in New York, and that's a wee bit different. Kevin gets left behind at the airport when his family go on a Christmas holiday, and he manages to get on the wrong plane. So he is in New York while the rest of his family are on holiday for Christmas in Florida. And one of the funniest bits, I think, of that movie is when his mum first realises that Kevin is missing. And we're going to watch that clip now.
Whose is this?
That's Brooks.
This is Megan. Brooke. Give this to Brooke. This is Kevin. Give this to Kevin.
Give this to Kevin.
Give this to Kevin.
Give this to Kevin. Kevin.
Give this to Kevin. Give this to Kevin.
Give this to Kevin. Give this to Kevin.
Give this to Kevin.
Give this to Kevin. Here you go, Kevin.
Kevin's not here.
Kevin's not here.
Kevin's not here.
Kevin's not here. Kevin's not here.
Kevin's not here.
Kevin's not here. Kevin's not here.
Kevin's not here.
Kevin's not here.
What?
Kevin's mum, of course, doesn't know that he is missing, and neither does his dad. But the look of panic in his mum's face as she shouts, "Kevin!" And then, of course, you see her dropped to the floor in shock, realising that Kevin isn't with them. Kevin is missing. Kevin is lost. And when I watch Home Alone, especially Home Alone Lost in New York, I always wonder if it was based on a story in the Bible, a story that's in the Gospel, the New Testament, the second part of the Bible, and it's the only story in the Gospel that we have of Jesus when he was a child, when he was a boy. He's 12 years old in this story. It's a story that takes place at holiday time, not Christmas or summer holidays, but a holiday called Passover, which even now is still celebrated by Jewish people. Jesus was travelling with his mum and dad, Mary and Joseph, to this special festival, this special holiday called Passover. and he is going up from Nazareth, where he lives, to Jerusalem, the big city. And they're going to the temple to celebrate this Passover holiday. And they're all travelling together, mums and dads and aunties and uncles and grannies and grandpas and all the children. And of course, they don't have aeroplanes to travel on, not in those days. So they didn't need to worry about their boarding pass or leaving someone behind at the airport. They had to walk all the way from Nazareth to Jerusalem, and that's quite a long journey, so it took them a few days. But once they were in Jerusalem, they had a wonderful time. They had a wonderful holiday at the Passover festival, because Jerusalem was a big city and it was bustling and exciting. But like all holidays, it soon came to an end and they had to travel home again. So Mary and Joseph and all the aunties and uncles and all the grannies and grandpas and all the children all had to start the long walk back to Nazareth. Now, when they'd been travelling for maybe a day, Mary and Joseph noticed that Jesus wasn't with them. They had thought that he had been with another relative, but it turns out he hadn't been. And you can imagine their shock as Jesus' mum and dad realised he wasn't with them. And I wonder if Mary shouted Jesus, just like Kevin's mum had shouted his name, and then maybe dropped to the floor in shock when she realised that Jesus was lost. You know, I'm sure she did. So off they went, Mary and Joseph, back to Jerusalem to look for Jesus. And they looked everywhere in the big city, but they couldn't find him. But after 3 whole days, at last they found him. And I wonder if you can think about where he might have been all this time. In the park? No, he wasn't in the park. In the garden? No, he wasn't in the garden. Actually, Jesus was in the temple courts. And he was with all the wise teachers, and he was teaching them, and they were listening to every word he said, and they were amazed at what Jesus had to say. When his parents saw him, they were shocked. And of course, you can imagine what they said to him. "Where have you been? We've been looking all over for you. We are out of our minds with worry about you." And Jesus just said, "What were you worried about, Mum and Dad?" And then he said something that his parents didn't understand. He said, "Did you not know that I had to be in my Father's house?" And what Jesus meant is that, why didn't you look for me straight away in the temple? Didn't you know that's where I would be? The temple, of course, is like the church. And of course, sometimes we call the church the house of God. So really, Jesus wasn't lost in Jerusalem. He knew where to go. He was home alone in Jerusalem. Of course, none of us is truly ever alone. God is always with us, even though we can't see him. I hope you have a good summer, boys and girls. And I hope that you have lots of exciting adventures, and also look after yourself. Don't get left home alone, and don't get left behind anywhere. God bless.